Ah, damn it. I love this woman. I love that she is manic pixie dream girl of the early 1900s. Just like free spirit going to a theosophy lecture. Let's get engaged the next day. Wear a shoe on my head. Like, she's insane.
I 100% did.
That's our soundbite, by the way, Elizabeth.
Welcome to Vanity Veritas, where three vain friends dive into the history of beauty, fashion, and culture, trying to figure out how we got here and why we care so damn much. We're your hosts, Christina Cole-Geddes,
Elizabeth Urbanczyk,
and Chelsea Feldman.
All right, Chelsea, you are up this week. Who are we talking about today?
Who indeed? All right, today I want to talk about a very interesting woman, a land of contrasts. Her name is Elsa Schiaparelli, and you may have heard of her. So I first learned about Schiaparelli, who was a famous designer of fashion. I first became aware of her, I think, from a newspaper article when I was maybe 13 or 14. I might have been connected to like a museum exhibit that was happening, but I can't confirm. I tried to find it. I tried to kind of how old was I? Which house was I living in? Couldn't find it. But I remember being really struck by her. And about this age, I was starting to take an interest in Vogue and fashion in a more shall we say adult artsy way. And I just remember reading about her and being really I hadn't considered that someone like her could exist, or that fashion from back then in the olden days could be subversive or surreal. I just it blew my mind.
Days.
Yeah, olde days of the 1930s? Is that what we're talking? Yeah. 40s, close.
30s and 40s. No, you're totally right.
Ye olde days of the light bulb, electric radio.
Television.
I was 13. How much did you know about the avant-garde art scene of the 1920s and 30s?
You're so right. Just know that means that the wee tweens coming up right now would be in the olden days with your Walkman.
Do you know that kids talk about the 90s as the turn of the century or the late 1900s?
Yeah, they say you were born back in the 1900s.
In the late
and I'm
1900s.
How fucking dare you?
So I want to ask first, what do you know about Schiaparelli? What comes to mind? Any words or images or go?
Angular.
Interesting.
Salvador Dali, but on a zipper or a dress.
Oh, okay.
Body parts and weird things being used for fashion. Her stuff. Schiaparelli to me is one of those really quickly identifiable designers. It's really hard to confuse Schiaparelli for someone else in my mind. Yeah, body parts and the shoe hat and stuff like that.
Yeah, surrealism and a Man Ray kind of situation going on. But
really elegant too.
Elegant.
She reminds me, if anybody's a Drag Race fan, she Miss Fame is the kind of person who would wear her stuff. Just supermodel, corseted, very it's camp without being intentionally camp.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna take this back. So for the uninitiated, Elsa Schiaparelli was a fashion designer born at the turn of the 20th century. She was born in 1890. She's Italian, spent most of her fashion career in Paris, and was really singular, I think, as you both have described, a really singular look, really unique sense of design, and just really interestingly kind of fell off the radar, fell out of people's memory and knowledge for a long time, but has had a resurgence. Obviously, she's not alive, but her brand and her sort of legacy has had a pretty recent resurgence. So I was really interested in learning more about her and who she was and why she's back today, figuratively, why Schiaparelli, the House of Schiaparelli, is back now. And it's interesting, you both named other artists like Dali and Man Ray, and you're spot on. She actually was in their circle. She was associated with the Dada circle. She collaborated with these artists, and that's a really big part of what makes her design so interesting. So I want to spend this episode talking about her life, but partly through the lens of her 1954 autobiography, Shocking Life. So I also want to talk about some of those designs and her influence on fashion and this continued legacy today. And something that was really interesting to me is that her rise and fall really coincides with geopolitical events, specifically World War II, societal shifts, and like a post-war sort of like what the aesthetic was pre-war and what it was after the war when there was this return to quote like normalcy. And I would love to spend some time talking with you both about how fashion can reflect these societal changes and what that means for like our social and gender norms and how that can just like really elevate or tank someone's career in fashion. Schiaparelli is often mentioned in the same breath as Coco Chanel. They were pretty much contemporaries. I believe Chanel was 7 years older. It's really easy to like look at them as opposites. And how do I say this? They had very like kind of parallel but opposing trajectories as one another. And I think it's really interesting to sort of look at them side by side and ask, why is this such an easy comparison? Is it because they were just both the two most famous women designers at the time? And I think that that's partly true, but there's a little more to it. Okay, so
one was a Nazi?
Like
literally one was a Nazi. I was going to say that for
one
later.
was a Nazi?
I was going to go totally. I was like, yeah, like Britney and Christina. And you went straight for Nazi.
I went straight.
No, I'm glad you said it because we have to talk about the idea of femininity that was favored after World War II and the irony about like Chanel being the flag bearer of that. But I also want to talk about how like it's not quite fair enough to be like Chanel, Nazi, Elsa Schiaparelli, girl boss, feminist icon. Like it's not that simple.
We're not that reductive here, Chelsea.
Right. We're not that reductive. We can handle contradictions and just, you know.
I'm gonna need a minute for that one.
Elsa Schiaparelli says, lean in.
Lean in, girlies. She kind of does. Lean in, but also lean way the fuck out. She's really incoherent, and I love her for it. I think that's kind of the best thing. Like, I'm trying to figure her out ideologically, and you kind of can't. You're like, you're just kind of a cuckoo bird. And
we love them. We love them.
We love it. We love it. But I love this because I think when we're looking at historical figures, especially women, I think we have all came of age through this like girl boss idolization of women in history. And it really doesn't hold up. And it's much more interesting to look at a person with all of their flaws and quirks and things that just like don't line up and be like, wow, she did some amazing things. I don't know if I think she's like the best person that ever lived, but yeah. So you can't see if you're listening, but I have so many sticky notes in this autobiography. However, disclaimer, this book is incredibly entertaining. It is also borderline useless as a factual historical document. Like I spent a lot of time reading it being like, I'm prepping for this episode. And I finished it being like, I don't think I know a single true thing that happened to this woman.
It's like you're reading the memoirs of like the Unabomber or something. You're like, this is fascinating, but also none of this is true.
Also not a reliable narrator at all.
Right.
It is almost certainly 90% fabrication, or at least we're dealing with a big fish situation. There is truth in it. The truth is not in the actual like dates and names and facts.
Right.
So I want to use it as a framework for the discussion as sort of a window in to see like what kind of person she was, or at least how she wanted to be seen. But I'm not sure that that's actually possible. So at times I will use it and then be like, actually, I fact checked this on Wikipedia. And so bear with me. I think it'll be fun. I don't know. We're at the whims of Madame Schiaparelli today.
Can't wait to write my fantastical, whimsical memoir.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
She published this in 1954, which is the same year that she officially shuts down her couture business. And I think that what you've said is important, is that this is sort of something she releases at that chapter of her life to sort of have the last word about who she is, how she wants to be seen, why her business is closed. So I do think it is a kind of early-ish example of that celebrity memoir where it is released to sort of control the narrative. But I'd like to start just to give you the flavor. There's so much in here. All of these tabs are like just like funny, ridiculous stories. They're like, I want to tell a story. I want to share this. And there's no, we don't have time to like, I can't get into all of them, but I do want to read, and I'll get into some of them, but I do want to read her foreword. I merely know Schiap by hearsay. I have only seen her in a mirror. She is, for me, some kind of fifth dimension. She is unpredictable, but in reality, disarmingly simple. She is profoundly lazy, but works furiously and rapidly. Her laughter and tears collide. On a job of work, she is fun, soaring from despair to heavenly delight. She is generous and mean, for there are occasions when she would rather give away half her possessions than the handkerchief in her handbag. Her life has been a means to something else, an everlasting question mark. Truly mystic, she believes in it, in capital letters, but has not yet found what it is. If she is charming, she can also be the most hateful person in the world. She is aware of this, but cannot help it. People believe that she is a good businesswoman and not, perhaps, very tender in love. In fact, she is a very poor businesswoman, continually taken in, exploited, and few people have been so deeply hurt in their feelings or so cruelly wounded in their pride. I have seen her in the mirror. Elsa Schiaparelli, 1954. I
What
mean,
what self-help retreat is she opening with this
I
keynote? That is
mean,
what I want to know.
my note here just says Cece Bloom is a deeply feeling person.
Oh my
Cece Bloom feels things deeply.
Which, side note,
Oh, wow.
Elizabeth, you still haven't seen Beaches, have you?
I still have not seen Beaches.
Well, now you
I
have
know.
to.
Now I have to.
Um,
There are so many references to it.
And Elizabeth, I'm sure we will cut a lot of it, but I just needed you to experience that with me.
She's wild.
That honestly, that felt like I was home alone for the first time in a long time, and I decided to take a little garden gummy, and I sat in the mirror, and
That's our journaling.
I went a little too in.
Talking about yourself in the third person, like
She does it throughout the book, and I try to sort of figure out, like, she'll switch back and forth. And if I were more,
on her wavelength.
was she dissociating? Like, does she do it? Does she become Scap when she's talking about something that's painful? Or like, I couldn't really tell.
Yeah.
I think she
It's not
just
clear.
likes to talk about herself in the third person as some kind of like entity beyond her own self.
She's a character outside of herself. There's the Elsa within, and there's the Schiap,
The
who the
Scap without.
world meets. Oh my
There's
god.
definitely
No,
like
but
a
I kind of think that's it. So thank you for letting me share that. I could not believe what I was reading.
it's incredible.
Okay, so let's start with her birth. And she gets off to a rip-roaring start. She is born in 1890 in the Palazzo Corsini in Rome to an aristocratic mother, and her father is a distinguished scholar. So
Oh,
you can
wow.
see from the beginning, she's from this very well-moneyed, but also kind of intellectual and like
Elite.
she's from a
Yeah.
very well-moneyed, elite, and intellectual kind of creative family.
Mhm.
It starts off, as I said, on this very fantastical note. The book opens with the story of her christening. This is almost certainly not true. But
Disclaimer for the entire episode.
Entire episode.
right. I'm going to say it once. Take this woman with like a huge grain of salt. So she describes her family getting to the church to christen her, and because she's a girl, no one had thought of a name. They were expecting a boy. They had a name picked for a boy, but they didn't have a name. So her nursemaid, who was German and a big fan of Wagner's, name was Elsa. So she was like, "You can use my name, Elsa," and everybody was like, "Okay." So this is the first thing she shares with us. And then she later goes on to say that nursemaid was a drunk and concealed bottles in her skirts, and she was later fired. Like, it just is story after story of this craziest shit. I really loved, for me, like a big highlight of the book was her childhood, where she's basically like Eloise at the Plaza. It's just
Aww.
hijinks after hijinks. She talks about there was an angry mob that was protesting that went to the king's palace. So at like 5 years old, she joined them, and she was like, "I had a great time. I didn't know what was going on. And finally, in the wee hours of the morning, I tapped on the window of a cab and said, 'Palazzo Corsini, please.'" And like, "No, you didn't. Like, that didn't happen." She talks about she read about Jesus, and she was very enthralled with him and the fact that he walked on water. She was like, "I tried to walk on water. Turns out it was a pool of quicklime, and I quickly sank into the quicklime. Like this, you would die. Like your skin would burn off. Like there's no way." One interesting story that she does tell, and according to her, her eldest sister was always like considered the pretty one, the perfect one, the well-behaved one. It's a classic story. Elsa is plain, she's mischievous, she doesn't quite fit in, but she wants to make herself beautiful. She's a little girl at this point. And in an attempt to make herself beautiful, she decides to stuff her mouth, nose, and ears with flower seeds so that she will grow flowers all out of her face. And
That's on brand. Come on now. That
right?
is on brand.
Right. And so and the way she tells it, she actually like got seeds stuck up her nose and couldn't breathe, and they had to have a doctor like remove the seeds. But interestingly, this one is interesting. Her biographer, Merle Seacrest, doesn't quite dismiss this story. And she says whether it happened or not, she thinks it might be the inspiration for this Dali sketch / painting, Woman with a Flower Head, which let me see if I
Whoa. Can I tell
I
you?
also loved I loved watching Christina's face just like
something about
twist
that
in
gives
terror. Well, as I like, you're the mother of an almost 3-year-old, and I'm just
that's
like,
not why. That's not why. It like gives
you're
me
like,
the
oh, what is
ick.
she gonna do to
Like
her
there's
face?
something about it's like, you know how my best friend has that fear of holes that are close together?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
It gives me that kind of vibe. Like there's something about the idea of like flora
Yes.
growing out of your
It's very
orifices.
Annihilation.
Yes, it's exactly that. And I do
Body
not like
horror.
it. Do
Ugh.
not
Yes.
like
I
it.
just sent you a picture though of this Dali piece. And
Oh.
Oh, so
her
tiny.
biographer, this is 1937, which is like the height of when they're collaborating with one another. Her biographer suggests that maybe this idea that she had was the inspiration for this drawing by Dali many years later. Interesting. So
Wild.
again, there could be some truth in there. There's just a lot that is definitely not true. So in this part of the book, she first mentions her interest in fashion. She talks about going through her mother's beautiful clothing when she's little. She also talks about Schiap sewing, which was she had no training. She didn't know how to sew, really. She didn't have any technique, but she was able to sort of do a kind of like rudimentary sewing that she taught herself, and she would start to make her own clothes, and she calls them naive but attractive. Another interesting thing that I guess is seems like it happened, but she is very misleading about the timeline of when it does happen. She publishes a book of like very romantic love poems when she's a young girl.
Cool.
Yes, and she gets published. According to her, she like takes it, she writes these poems. She has like her first crush on a boy, and she writes these poems, and she takes them to a publisher, and they publish it under the title Arethusa, which is a title that comes from ancient Roman mythology. And apparently her family finds out and they're horrified. It's a big scandal. So she's sent to a really strict convent school where she decides to go on hunger strike until her father comes to get her and they bring her home. So this woman is very extra from an early age.
She's so dramatic.
She's
My
so
God.
dramatic.
She is Eloise at the Plaza, but like on LSD.
But like yes,
right.
like Eloise,
so
like with a knife. Yeah.
And this is like what, like 1905? 1910?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, she's born in 1890, so we're talking early 1900s, 1910s. Right?
That's spicy stuff.
Yeah. Basically, she finds aristocratic life pretty unfulfilling.
They always do. The aristocrats always find it unfulfilling
right?
for themselves.
She wants to get out. A friend of her sister's, or like a family friend in London, has adopted some orphans and wants to like a like a nanny or governess for them. So Elsa decides, I'll take this governess job. It'll get me a ticket to London. She goes to London. She stops over in Paris on the way, and she's like, wow, I really like this place. She goes on to London. She does not enjoy the nanny job. Not for her. She couldn't do it. She ends up going back to Paris. And this is where this is where Schiap really hits the ground running. She gets invited to a ball. Let me find this page. She gets invited to a ball, as you do. And this is the thing. I think a big theme with her is that like she will talk about how she's like totally, self-taught and self-made and self-trained, but she has like friends and connections wherever she goes. And I think that like we can't ignore the fact that this woman is an aristocrat who like every city she goes to, even if she doesn't know people, she knows people.
Yeah.
right? Like you can just show up at some
right.
rich person's mansion and they'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, of course we'll put you up for 6 months. Like you can stay in our other palace.
She's not the daughter of farmers from Des Moines. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
it's like she's got connections.
Exactly.
Not to reference another episode, but like it's like when you see those $5,000 weddings and they're like, I did it all myself. And they're like, well, we didn't have to pay for a venue because we got married on our parents' Aspen estate.
How much free stuff did you get?
And you're
And the
like,
rich people
my
that you know.
best friend is a photographer at Vogue, and as a wedding gift, they shot our photos. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, that's not a $5,000 wedding. I'm so sorry.
We all have the same amount of hours in the day, guys.
We have, right? You have as many hours in the day as Schiaparelli does. Yeah, awesome. No excuses. She gets invited to this ball in Paris. And so she has nothing to wear. So she talks about going to the Galerie Lafayette and she buys 4 yards of a dark blue crepe de chine. She does not know how to sew. She has no technical skills. She says she did not sew again, in third person here. She did not sew the dress together, but draped the material around her body and, for safety, passed it between her legs to give a zouave effect. Half the orange silk she made into a wide sash, which she tied around her waist. The other half she made into a turban, as she had no more money to go to the hairdresser. So she just kind of wraps herself in fabric and goes to the ball. And it's like kind of a hit. Like people think she looks great. And this lack of technical skill, this inability to sew, far from holding her back, it actually kind of becomes one of her like trademarks, one of the defining characteristics of her work. Of course, she ultimately hires people who can sew, but she doesn't sketch. She doesn't make patterns. She drapes and throws fabric on people, which kind of serendipitously is how couture is made.
Yeah.
So,
and that must have been like at that time, because we're talking about like 1910, 1915.
I think by this point, we're like 1913, 14.
So it's peak Paul Poiret, which is like the turbans and like all of that. So also she's like it's a good time to be jinkies with fashion. You know what I mean?
Yes. And actually Poiret is one of her earliest mentors.
No.
They meet in Paris. He gives her clothes to wear. He mentors her. And so she learns a lot from him. And he works in the same way. He drapes fabric. He doesn't like work from patterns.
Sick. All my favorite people coming together.
And literally, you every time you both have mentioned somebody, I'm like, yep, that they were literally there. So 1914, she attends a lecture on theosophy, which I tried to look up. I don't really understand what it is. It's some sort of quasi pseudoscientific metaphysical branch of philosophy that was really popular. Seems kind of like coming out of the spiritualist movement, but they were like, no, actually, this is serious philosophy and science.
Oh, so it's like theology and philosophy? Theosophy?
Something like that. Yes, it's like philosophy, but they believe in like contacting some higher plane of power.
The Google says theosophists maintain that knowledge of the divine wisdom gives access to the mysteries of nature and humankind's inner essence. That sounds like Schiaparelli from all we've learned about her over the last 30 minutes. That sounds about right.
She has always been interested in the metaphysical and the spooky. And so she attends a lecture given by this man. I don't know why.
Man? He could have been a being, an amoeba.
A man. His name is Willem de Went. That is not his birth name. She stays and talks with him after. They get engaged 1 day later.
Wow. God damn it. I love this woman. I love that she is manic pixie dream girl of the early 1900s. Just like free spirit going to a theosophy lecture. Let's get engaged the next day. Wear a shoe on my head. Like she's insane.
I 100% didn't.
That's our soundbite, by the way, Elizabeth.
She's insane. I did not imagine that was going to end in marriage. I don't know why I didn't see it coming. It's so obvious now, as Elizabeth pointed out.
They get married really quickly. I will note that she never mentions his name in the book. He, in fact, has multiple aliases and like fake academic credentials, and he's a con man, basically.
Charlatan.
He's a charlatan. Yes.
The theosophic speaker is a con man and a charlatan?
No.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
If only someone could have seen this coming.
I just bought these Cutco knives and I thought we'd live happily ever after. I don't know why.
Not Schiap. Schiap believes in hook, line, and sinker.
So, not covered in the book, but again, I took, sometimes I had to go and cross-reference with actual history. She helps to sort of promote his career and support him for the first couple years of their marriage. They are in London. He gets convicted for fortune telling, which is illegal, and deported. They
Womp, womp,
They then- yeah.
womp.
You think he gets convicted of fortune telling?
Yeah,
Oh my
which
God.
is unfortunately a crime at this time in England. They
That's
float
wild.
around France for a while, and by 1916, they end up in New York City. Now, something important that happens is that on the trip over, she meets Gabrielle Picabia, who's the wife of the surrealist painter Francis Picabia. And this becomes a really important relationship in her life. But we're going to put a pin in that and come back to it later. Fun sidebar, while they live in New York, they are placed on the equivalent of like an FBI watch list for Bolshevism. And they both, when they're questioned, they both confess to like really outlandish, like they don't deny it. Literally, and Schiaparelli's like, actually, I have been tutoring Italian orphans in Bolshevik ideals and teaching them to make bombs. They like go all in and it works. And the charges are dropped because the FBI is like, this is clearly not a person who, you're not serious people. Like,
Right.
They are an SNL sketch. My God.
They are
insane.
Right? They're truly insane. They're cuckoo bananas together.
Commitment to the bit.
They'd be a nightmare to wait on at a restaurant. They'd be an absolute nightmare to wait on. Can you imagine?
I want to pull out a really funny, just kind of, another celebrity who passes through this book is Isadora Duncan, who you may be familiar with. She was the famous modern dancer.
Mm-hmm.
She says in New York, but with the hustle and bustle of New York, he, her husband, fell to temptations which had a most disastrous effect on him. Isadora Duncan marked him as a prize to be won. In a small room, she took off all her clothes and began to dance for him. So he has lots of affairs, and
Spicy.
she's understandably kind of
Yes.
miffed. She gets pregnant. Who could have predicted? At right around the same time, he just disappears. He deserts her.
Of course. It's wild. You think she'd be very like an early 20th century polyamory? Like, she seems the type, right?
Well,
but also, is she just like tempestuous and jealous? Like, I can't tell if she's like free love.
I think
or
she's
like...
impulsive.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think above all, she's impulsive. And she does say later, like, she has boyfriends later, she has lovers, but after their marriage is over, she says definitively in the book, like, I realized that I would never marry again. I would never be tied down to one man again. And she says something to the effect of like, men admire strong women, but they do not love them, or something, like something very sad. So I think she's definitely like, she doesn't go through the rest of her life as like a lonely old spinster, but she never again settles into one relationship. So speaking of, her daughter, Maria Luisa, is born in 1920. So right around the time of her, either the pregnancy or the birth. By this point, Willem de Went is out of the picture. She makes no effort to find him. And in fact, she is so afraid that he will one day show up and try to claim custody of their daughter that she has her daughter's last name changed to Schiaparelli. It's just like interesting.
Yeah,
right?
he's just out of her life.
Yeah, but also like that protectiveness of her child.
Right. That must have been like kind of a crazy thing to do back then.
That also must be kind of crazy because you have to then. She had to have that self-reflection of like, I mean, it does change when you have a child, of just this like, oh, I can't fuck around and find out in the same way I could before. You know, like you can have a charlatan husband and you guys can be wacky and wild and do all sorts of crazy shit, but suddenly like there is another human being that you have to feed and show up to every day, and like it is a lot. There's a lot more at stake of being like, yeah, I can say that I'm teaching Roman children how to be Bolsheviks, like NBD. It's just different.
Because you're the only person who the consequences affect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so she moves to Paris in 1922 with her daughter, Marie Louisa, who goes by the nickname Gogo for most of her life. So
Aw.
Scap and Gogo, is cute, right? Moved to Paris
Where's
in
that kid's book?
1922. Kind of following Gabby Picabia and the Dada set, who are all moving from New York to Paris. Gogo at this point has something called infant paralysis, maybe polio, not quite clear on the details. It's interesting. Scap describes herself as a really doting mother. She sends Gogo to the best specialists in Europe, but like the time jumps are insane. Like Gogo is a toddler on one page and she's 8 years old on the next page. It was really interesting to me. Like she devotes a lot of the book to her daughter, and it's clear that there's a lot of affection there, but also that she was kind of just like a rich mother from another time, where like spending 6 months away from your kid because they're at a boarding school or you're doing this other thing in some other countries, like they're not mutually exclusive to her. Also, by this point, I made a note, she has not mentioned a single year or date in the book at all. By this point, like I don't know how old she is. I don't know what time period. It's 1922, but I had to look that up elsewhere. So despite having some family money, she feels the need to earn her own. For a while, she assists Man Ray with his Dadaist magazine, which is, I think, a pretty short-lived publication anyway. According to her, Gabby Picabia suggests a couple of different failed enterprises. She has this idea that she'll import French underwear for her to sell. It fails, it goes sideways, it doesn't work. But around this time, she does meet Paul Poiret, who becomes her mentor, as we discussed. And his technique as a couturier, draping and like sewing, hand sewing right on the model, really works for her because she doesn't have the traditional pattern making or sewing technical skills. And this is kind of the beginning of her life as a designer. I want to read you something she said about sort of her view of dressmaking.
Really fast. Paul Poiret is sort of the inventor of what we would now consider modern garb, right? Like he's sort of
Yes.
the first major designer who moves away from like what we think of as like bustles and corsets, and he kind of
Yeah.
brings in like looser dresses and shifts and turbans and these sort of like elaborate orientalist styles.
Yes. Much
Yeah, I
more
was gonna
comfortable.
I
Elegant
had
yet
Yeah.
to Google
comfortable.
him. Like I know that name, but I had to like double check so I knew who you were talking about. And
Mhm.
like if I we mentioned Downton Abbey every once in a while, but like if you remember the day that Sybil came down the stairs in pants, in those like harem pants,
100%.
that
Yes.
is a
100%.
very Poiret vibe. That's
If
that's the
Yes.
look that he was putting out into the world.
if anyone wants like a fun side note, if you're listening, quickly Google Paul Poiret's like famous parties. The images are amazing. Continue.
So this is Schiaparelli on the art of dressmaking. Once or twice I had thought that instead of painting or sculpture, both of which I did fairly well, I could invent dresses or costumes. Dress designing, incidentally, is to me not a profession but an art. I found that it was a most difficult and unsatisfying art because as soon as a dress is born, it has already become a thing of the past. As often as not, too many elements are required to allow one to realize the actual vision one had in mind. The interpretation of a dress, the means of making it, and the surprising way in which some materials react, all these factors, no matter how good an interpreter you have, invariably reserve a slight, if not bitter, disappointment for you. In a way, it is even worse if you are satisfied because once you have created it, the dress no longer belongs to you. A dress cannot just hang like a painting on the wall or like a book remain intact and live a long and sheltered life. A dress has no life of its own unless it is worn. And as soon as this happens, another personality takes over from you and animates it, or tries to, glorifies or destroys it, or makes it into a song of beauty. More often, it becomes an indifferent object or even a pitiful caricature of what you wanted it to be, a dream, an expression.
She sounds like a playwright. She sounds like
She's a good writer.
Yeah, yeah.
she's a good writer, but I mean in terms of like her creative
Oh,
like
yes.
anxiety.
Yes.
of that idea of like once you get it on the page or onto a
Once you
dress
get it out
form,
into the world, it belongs to the audience, right?
Mhm.
yeah, it belongs
Yeah.
to other, and it might not be. It's so funny. I was just listening to an interview with Cola Scola talking about O'Mary, and they
Mm.
talk about they were so worried about getting it down on paper because they didn't think it would be as good as what they had in their head, and that this is the
Yeah.
first thing they've ever written that matched the vision they had in their head, which is
Oh,
incredible.
amazing.
But that idea, like, because I've also known playwrights too who are like, they get very anxious because they think they need to tell actors how to say the lines the way that they wrote them. It's like, that's
Yes.
not how this works,
Yeah.
buddy.
You have
Once
to
you,
let it go.
yeah, you've done the job.
Yeah.
Now you hand it over to directors and actors, and the same thing with a costume designer or a
No,
fashion designer.
that's
Once you make the dress, unless you're wearing it yourself and moving around in it the way you want to wear it, it has to go to somebody else. And it's so straight. It's so funny that she has that same sort of like control grip
Yeah.
anxiety on her creativity. I'm like, why become a fashion
right.
designer? Like, that's
Wait,
why not just become a
Right.
painter?
I might be jumping ahead, but I'm so curious, maybe we'll touch on it, but, like, it makes me think of how different design houses now, if you're going to wear a certain designer, some couturiers will basically say, like, "You have to wear the look head to toe that we showed on the runway, like, you cannot deviate from what we
Mm.
showed." And some are okay with it depending on, like, who's the stylist and who's wearing it, but, like, there are houses now that will say, like, "No, no," because, like, they don't want their work interpreted in a different way.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And again, like she's a land of contrast. Like she talks a lot, multiple times about how she doesn't care about being copied. She does not care about imitators. And in fact, she takes it, she says, if I'm being copied, number one, they're never going to do it as well as I did. So I'm not bothered. And number two, it means I'm doing something right. So
Yeah.
it's this really interesting to me, like contrast of like having a really strong vision and having difficulty letting go.
Mm.
But at the same time, I think she's also very pragmatic about like, oh, people are going to copy your work. That's just part of it. Like, it's really interesting. And yeah, I really found that quote really fascinating because I think, as you said, Elizabeth, it really resonates with, I think, so many
Mm.
other creative fields, so
Hmm.
many artistic fields.
Yeah. It's also interesting because I feel like that's the first time that, at least as a listener right now, I can say, "Oh, no, she really was an artist. She really did take the creative process and the art that she was making seriously." Because up until this point, like, she's kind of not that serious.
Right.
Hmm.
Yes. Again, so many contradictions. And this is kind of why I love her. Like,
Yeah.
Coco Chanel actually called her, quote, that artist who makes clothes. Um,
Ah,
and
yeah.
not in a
Yeah.
complimentary way, by the way. I think this was
Oh.
quite a lot of shade.
I was gonna say,
Um,
how does she mean that? Because that's
I
definitely,
I don't know, but I get the sense that it was not entirely complimentary.
It was like, oh, that
Um,
person who just drapes things and staples together a
right.
turban and thinks that she's a
Right. Or
designer.
just at the very least, like she and I, like we are not the same.
right.
Like I am a maker of clothes. This woman is an artist who happens to make clothes. I think Schiaparelli all would agree and would think of this as a positive thing.
Compliment, yeah.
But from someone who came up through like the traditional like technique, sewing, like
Yeah. It's a bit of shade. Yeah.
unwillingness to accept her into the art and craft.
Hmm.
Mm.
Um, so around this time, I want to talk about some of the things she starts to design in the 20s and 30s. So her first design that really takes off is the trompe l'oeil bow sweater. Have either of you ever seen this?
That sounds really familiar, but no. Do you have a picture?
Sending
Yeah.
a picture in our group text.
Oh, I do know this sweater.
Oh, you know what's so funny is I'm like, I don't know if I know it from Schiaparelli or just because in our day and age, something like this is like, if I saw this in a store, I
Yeah.
wouldn't look at it twice because it seems very
Yes.
obvious. But
Right.
like in,
Yes.
in the 20s, like this kind of knitwear, I imagine was very, very new.
Oh my god.
This was new. This was done. Yes, she has this idea. She sketches it roughly and goes to this couple who like knit sweaters on machines, I think, like kind of early mechanical
Sure.
knitting. And she's like, "Can you do this?" And they try a bunch of prototypes and they finally get it right and they sell like hotcakes. And it's interesting, right? Because I was so surprised seeing this. Was like, I think I had this in like elementary school. Like it's can one of you describe it for our
Oh, so
listeners who
yes,
are
it's a black and gray sweater knit. It looks like a pretty simple sweater, but like a bow is physically knitted into the pattern. So it's almost like now we would screen print the bow. onto a shirt. So it's the illusion of there being a bow that's essentially drawn onto the sweater as opposed to it being a literal like pussy bow on the front of kind of almost like a sailor style,
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd
right?
say so.
It's
Yes, and
giving olive oil from Popeye.
yeah,
Yes.
right. That's exactly it. That's so funny. Yeah, so this is like people have never seen this. And I think it's so funny looking back at it now, being like, I don't know, that looks kind of like an everyday sweater. But at the time,
Sure.
this is Dada.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this
This is not a bow.
This is not about, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Ceci n'est pas un beau.
but is it inspired by Magritte? Like, did she?
Well,
Because
she
they would
is
have been
inspired
friends,
by, she is hanging out with the
right?
Dadaists and the Surrealists. So yeah, in a sense, yeah, it is. She's coming at this from a like trompe l'oeil, like I
Yeah.
want to make kooky optical art on this clothing. The other thing that she designed, she's the first or one of the first to do in this specific way, are evening gowns with jackets.
Oh
So
yeah,
the evening jacket, yeah,
I'm really
yeah. Wait,
excited.
Oh, yeah.
I could not stop myself. I had so many pictures of these evening jackets. Here is an
Ugh.
ad from a magazine. And this is also kind of groundbreaking that you might wear almost like a suit jacket on top of your evening gown.
Oh, I
It,
love this.
Elizabeth, would you like to
Are they
describe this?
beautiful?
Gorge.
Sure. It's a very feminine but very structured like blazer or suit jacket with like great shoulders and lots of ornamentation down the sleeves. It is an extra jacket, and then on the bottom is sort of a very simple long skirt, but it's very 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 elegant and very beautiful.
Yeah, really like ornate beading and sequins stitched into elaborate patterns on the sleeves. There's like a peplum waist with like if you close up on the red one, there's like a really elaborate shape of almost like a pocket or
Yeah, it's got these like
like
under like upside down
it sort of
udder.
looks like an organ. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's really but they're amazing and they'd almost now I feel like if you wore that you'd it would like be placed almost like a Napoleon-esque military jacket, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
was
I feel
going to
like
say
Marc
it almost
Jacobs
looks
did
like
a
a
year with
riding
this.
habit, like an
Yes.
old
Yeah.
fashioned women's
And then
riding habit.
that must have been such a wild deviation of, again, like, the gowns we're coming out of.
Right. It really was. It was, and it's funny, like I looked at this and I was like, "Oh my god, these are so gorgeous." But then I also
Oh.
was like, think about like picture the most kind of dowdy mother of the bride
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
dress
When you said blazer with
that we
dress,
have
I'm like,
now,
that's
right? Like
yeah.
the little jacket and the dress, and then no shade. That's you know, for many people that is the perfect choice for their son's wedding. Um, but just how now it's such a like I don't even want to
It's a
say
very
passe.
specific look.
It's such a but it's so normal. You see it
Yeah.
all the time. It's a mature look. It's not but it was totally groundbreaking and wild at the time that you
But
might wear
also
this kind of like suiting basically to an
this,
evening event.
like, goes, though, to the point of this literally is the cerulean blue argument of, like, we start
Yes.
with an artist and an artisan making something that takes an immense amount of labor and design and craftsmanship and work and skill, and they have these elaborate but quite small details. And the slower it trickles down, sort of the simpler it gets, the less like interesting the patterns are made, the less maybe well cut the patterns are made, and like the fabric quality goes down, the fabrication goes down, and then you have what is like now something that we'd look at and be like, well, that's like not the
Right.
coolest.
I can get that at JC Penney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, to be very clear, the images we're looking at Schiaparelli are elegant and very
Exquisite.
refined. And then the way that it has trickled down into the mother, the way we think of it as being kind of dowdy. And so
Yeah.
the way that like they are two opposite extremes of this of a blazer and skirt,
Yeah.
basically.
And I think too, the way like a silhouette or a style of dressing just becomes really normal to us over time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like we're just so used to seeing this that it
Yeah.
doesn't shock us. But it was, I mean, to borrow from the title of her autobiography, it was shocking. The next really shocking thing that she does, and again, this surprised me because it's so like normal to me is visible zippers. So I'm sending a picture of an ad in a magazine.
Oh.
So zippers are kind of like a new technology, and she's all about new materials. She is, even to like disastrous effects. Like I feel like, oh, who wore a dress that caught on fire? Someone, Christina, that you would know.
Well, there
It
was the
was either like Daisy
ballerina.
Fellow. No, it was Diana Vreeland wore a dress by Schiaparelli that was made of some sort of
Oh, yeah.
celluloid, and it
And it caught
melted.
on fire. Yeah.
Yes. So she was always experimenting with the newest materials, sometimes to great success, sometimes to like melting. So
Say that
she
again.
actually
Sometimes to
starts
great
doing
success, sometimes to melting. Say it without punching your microphone in the face.
sometimes to great success, sometimes to melting.
There we go.
Fantastic.
Sorry. Thank you for having my back.
I got you.
So in 1930, she starts doing these visible zippers. And not only that, I mean, it causes a stir. People are like, what the fuck is this? But not only that, she has deals with the zipper manufacturers where she will do like what you're looking at is like an ad both for her clothes and for this lightning plastic zipper. So she's like doing brand partnerships.
Do you know what's so funny about this is I associate these kinds of zippers and I understand there's places and times and exposed zippers are now like a stylistic choice, but I specifically as an elder millennial associate them with the back of every Forever 21 dress I owned.
Yes.
From like
Oh my
2010 to
Do you know what it is for me?
2017. What?
It's like the cropped asymmetrical moto jacket.
Yes. They all had 1,000 fucking zippers and they were big and chunky and frankly ugly, but they were so cool.
Well, you can thank Elsa Schiaparelli and imagine that at this time, this was like having like, I don't know, like jetpack on the back of your, like it was so wild and futuristic and
crazy.
and I think about kind of like the artistic statement of almost like showing the bones or showing the underbelly of the construction, right?
How the sausage is made.
Or just something like using something really
zipped.
utilitarian as the design element.
Yeah.
I think that's super interesting. And again, when we think about Schiaparelli as shocking, I think it's easy to think of like the crazy dresses and the shoe hat. But what really shocked people more than that, I think, were these small things like a knitted sweater with a bow knitted into it, or visible zippers.
Yeah.
Just like our perspective is so different now.
I think it's
interestingly. Oh, go ahead, Christina.
No, I was just gonna say I think it's so interesting. All the things you've shown us are far more plebeian and like in our everyday than I have ever associated Schiaparelli with.
Yes. I agree. This was so surprising to me.
Yeah.
And yes, she did design really wild, outlandish things, but she was also a really good businesswoman. And there was this other side of her where she designed really practical things that were really innovative. And the ways in which they were shocking were probably we would consider less shocking, less obvious. On that note, around this same time, she designs one of the first wrap dresses that 40 years later,
Diane von Furstenberg coming for your gig.
Diane von Furstenberg will pick up and really perfect, really develop to its fullest. But she designs one of the first ones, which is a really practical and wearable and comfortable piece of clothing. It's not outlandish in any obvious way.
No, it's also like part of what made DVF dresses so popular is that like if you gain a few pounds, if you lose a few pounds, if you get pregnant, like this dress, when you're at a time when you're not buying a lot of items of clothing, like that is an item of clothing that fits you throughout.
Yes.
It's just sort of universally flattering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So really a lot of elements that we'd consider very practical and modern. She at this time also designs a built-in bra swimsuit.
Shut up. Our queen.
Yes, our queen. Things like reversible or detachable elements, big pockets on women's clothing.
Well, we love her for that.
Which starts off during Prohibition. It's to carry a flask, but also she talks about
practicality. Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
She's got our backs, Elsa.
She also talks about designing this like very like convertible coat dress thing that like during the start of the war when people are concerned about having to leave their houses very quickly with like all their documents, like this coat dress thing that you can put on that somehow like you can convert the length and it's got these pockets that will fit all of your travel and identification documents. So there's this way in which she's just kind of really like pragmatic about what she's designing and really, really innovative.
Makes me think of that scene in Hercules where he's like, "You want to buy a sundial?" And it's just like, "You want to see my passport, my citizenship papers?"
But I'm obsessed with this because it's what's blowing my mind is I have never once in my entire fucking life thought Schiaparelli practical.
Yeah,
that
right.
is so far from my association with her. And these are like, yes, that's probably a very expensive coat that no one's actually buying, but like the conceptually behind it, like these are very pragmatic, like you said, problems to be solving.
The thing is, though, she's doing couture for rich and famous people. She's also making ready to wear. She's making things that are more affordable. Like these things are, to some degree, more mass produced. Not on the scale that we see today, but like they were pretty accessible.
Wow.
So again, I think it's not how we like remember her in the popular imagination. So speaking of, so the rich and famous, she starts to have big clients, kind of illustrious clients. There's a really funny story that I want to read. About that time, Amelia Earhart had accomplished the same incredible achievement as Lindbergh. Not enough has been said about her most exceptional personality. She used to come to me very often, and we became very good friends. Besides her courage and her skill, she was a most remarkable and wonderful woman, not without a peculiar beauty of her own, and vastly modest. When I visited her in the small American cottage where she lived in peace between adventures, she, her husband, and I discussed at length our taking the next trip together. I was all for it, but some business duty kept me from doing so. She went alone and met her fate alone and disappeared into nothing, leaving no human trace by which to remember her. Unexpected things happen at the right time.
What?
Wait, I'm sorry. Is she implying that she was almost on the trip with Amelia Earhart where she disappeared?
Yes, Elizabeth.
Incredible.
Of lost Elsa Schiaparelli and Amelia Earhart on the same
Could you
trip?
believe it? I was supposed to be on that flight and something came up. Everything happens for a reason.
I missed the Titanic by that much.
By that much.
It was just pulling away from Southampton.
Can I tell you, I think this might be my favorite part of the book. I was like, bitch, are you kidding me?
It is utterly ridiculous. I also was supposed to be on the Lusitania and the Hindenburg.
Wait.
I was just going to say I was supposed to ride on the Hindenburg, but I had a dentist appointment.
I will say
she's the opposite of Forrest Gump. She just misses every important historical event. She doesn't stumble into these historical events. She's just like, oh, something came up.
Doesn't go. Worst movie ever, by the way. Nothing happens.
It's just her every morning reading the paper, being like, I was supposed to be there.
Almost me. Elizabeth, you do know, though, that which Vanderbilt was it? One of the Vanderbilt brothers was like one day off of the Lusitania. He was supposed to be on it. And then he was also supposed to be on the Titanic and his ticket got canceled and they thought so there are people. They do exist.
They do, who have incredible luck, who have their final destination moment and it doesn't happen to them. Oh my
indeed.
God.
Can I read you another such story that is really funny? Okay. Here we go. A thin girl who seemed ugly and dowdy once sat in the corner of my salon. I did not know her, but she interested me, and I offered to help her choose her clothes. She allowed me to do as I thought best, now and again making a remark in a sharp, husky voice. She went out looking strikingly beautiful. Not long afterwards, I read an interview she gave in America. She said that this transformation in my showroom had been the starting point of a wonderful job. Her name? Katharine Hepburn.
Husky voice. Sharp I'll take, but husky.
Sharp I'll take. Yeah, maybe.
I would never think
English was not her first
voice.
language. So we'll give her that.
I
know
mean,
this
when you
woman.
think about what Katharine Hepburn what she became famous wearing with the blazer and like the trousers.
That's a great point.
Like she very much had that vibe where she really appreciated menswear and tailoring as a woman. So yeah, do I believe the entire story? Not really, but I do believe that Schiaparelli did dress her at some point.
It's incredibly possible that she dressed her. I think the implication that she kickstarted her career because before this, she was just like a big spiky Uggo. Like
just a quick, before she became the princess of Genovia. She's just
That's what I was just gonna say. I'm just
gangly.
imagining. Oh God.
Gangly is the word. I was like, what's the word for when a person is really like long and sharp? And I was like, spiky. Yeah, spiky. Another really iconic design I want to show you is that there's a famous female tennis champion named Lily Alvarez. And in 1931, she wears these this trouser skirt or split skirts that Schiaparelli designs for her. And I've sent you a picture. And this caused a scandal. This caused a stir. She was fined, I think, for wearing them.
These are culottes.
They're culottes.
They are
or
culottes.
gauchos.
I mean, Lily looks so cute. It was really hard for me to pick a picture of her because there's so many just cute and adorable photos of her posing in these gauchos. But they also reminded me of like the stretchy gauchos that I had in 2007.
In college. Oh yeah.
2003, sorry.
To every dance class. Oh my God, for like an entire year.
Yes.
Yeah, they're a culotte.
They're a culotte. But again, this was like women wore long calf-length skirts at this point to play tennis, and this was quite revolutionary, that quite shocking.
And so pragmatic.
Right. And I love in all the pictures where she's posing, she's like showing how high she can kick her leg or how much she can bend her knees in them. It's very cute.
It's giving the same thing as when you're like, and it has pockets.
Yes.
Like as soon as you're showing up and you're like,
Or when you wear a jumpsuit, you're just like, it's so practical.
Yes, exactly. Right? Watch, I can squat. Let me show you.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so now we're back in the year 1935. She has opened her flagship salon at 21 Place Vendôme, and this will become the Schiaparelli studio salon that people know, that people flock to. She says that it is the first of its kind to not just be a couture salon, but also to sell ready-to-wear, perfume, and separates. And that every couturier afterwards, like she shocked them. They thought this was really distasteful, and then ultimately they started copying her. I checked this. Chanel had been running her shop since 1921, and she did sell like perfume and hats and accessories. So this is not really true.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's some kernel of truth to it, that the way she was running this and the vibe of the shop was different, more like maybe like a modern boutique experience than
versus
previously
a showroom.
Existed. Exactly. Recalling back to a season 1 episode, at around this time between 1936 and 37, she designs costumes for Mae West for her film Every Day's a Holiday, which you might remember from Elizabeth's wonderful Mae West episode. And as we learned in that episode, she builds the clothes on a statue of May that she has sent in her stead to Paris. Later in the book, years later, she says she tells us that statue actually lives on her cocktail bar. I
mean, I would do the same if I had a body cast of Mae West, or like a full form of Mae West. That would live.
That would be
in my
so
household.
cool.
Yeah.
The other funny thing, and I only know this because Elizabeth, you taught us that Mae West's character was Diamond Lil.
Mm-hmm.
Schiap says she was doing some movie or something. Sapphire Sal. Like
Sapphire Sal. That's the like, emu Diamond Lil.
I laughed so hard because like no one corrected her. She's just like, yeah, whatever, Sapphire Sal or something. I don't know.
It's like how my husband for a long time said, Marlo's really into that Rowan Chappelle.
Yes. That's Chapel Roan.
Chapel Roan.
Curious. So yeah, Sapphire Sal. The same year, she releases her signature perfume, Shocking. And she says that she saw the color first in her mind. Shocking Pink, which is her signature color. This becomes the color that is most associated with her. It is this pink here on the cover. Yeah. It is like a neon, very bright, hot pink.
Yeah.
And the bottle from Shocking is, as Elizabeth also told us, based on that plaster cast of Mae West, but it was actually sculpted by the surrealist modern sculptor Leonor Fini, who was another one of her artistic collaborators. So Shocking Pink becomes her signature, as I said, and perfume will be the thing that carries her through the war and that kind of carries her long after her clothing business is dead.
Right, because fragrance and makeup is always the thing that keeps those houses alive.
Yes.
I love the historiography of our podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say it's in the
do
department store
too.
episode.
So, on that note, let's talk a bit about some of her most interesting artistic collaborations. And I think this is what really sets her apart. And it's interesting because I think it would be really easy to look at her and be like, well, she was just a rich lady. She didn't sew. She didn't, she just hired other artists. But I really don't get that sense. I think that she had really strong artistic vision. And really, what set her apart was that she would work side by side with these truly like avant-garde artists to develop really avant-garde fashion. And again, as Chanel somewhat derisively called her, that artist who makes clothes. She's probably best known for her collaborations with Salvador Dali. There's so many pictures here. One of their most iconic collaborations together is the bottle for her perfume Le Roi Soleil, or the Sun King, which I just sent a picture of. So it's two parts. It comes in this like gold clamshell. The perfume is inside in this other bottle.
I don't know what I was researching, but I came across this very recently.
Interesting.
I can't remember which of the many things I was in the middle of, but this bottle is the sickest thing I've ever seen. Elizabeth,
It's so sick, right?
Yeah. It's like sort of it's a beautiful sort of like clamshell shape, golden
It's 2
clamshell.
parts.
Yeah, 2 parts. And then it's got a little hinge on the bottom. It looks like it opens up to the actual bottle of perfume, which is think of like CBS Sunday Morning Sunburst. And like that's the top, but and there's like a face in the sun, but it's made up of birds, very Salvador Dali, over this sort of like waves of Christmas tree underneath. But it's a very elaborate, it's very pokey, very elaborate, very pokey bottle.
Very elaborate bottle.
And like
nice.
Murano glass almost. Like it's very, very difficult glass work.
It is a beautiful object. And apparently one of the first bottles she sent to Wallis Simpson, the Duchess of Windsor. Is that right?
Yikes.
Was she the Duchess of Windsor officially?
Yes, she was.
No, she wasn't.
Title. She wasn't, because he had to abdicate the throne in order to marry her. So she never
continued to use the title, even though it wasn't.
Right.
Kind of like Princess Di. Like, we kept calling her that. So she sends it kind of like influencer marketing. She sends a bottle to Wallis Simpson to sort of test it out. And apparently Wallis writes back to her this very effusive letter saying, I love it. And the bottle is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I like very sincerely adore this. Speaking of another collaboration with Dali that's really famous, I'm sending you 2 images, is one of my favorites, the lobster dress.
Yes.
I fucking can't get enough of the lobster dress. If I could pick one Schiaparelli thing to own, I think it would be this. And as we're on the subject of Wallis Simpson, this dress was famously worn by Wallis Simpson, I believe maybe in her engagement or photos.
Is it really?
No, you know what? It was just a photo shoot with Cecil Beaton. But she apparently wore this dress purportedly to make herself seem more likable.
Listeners, this is a white sleeveless, I think, silk gown with a sort of like coral bodice portion, like around her ribs. And then on the bottom looks like a hand painted huge lobster all the way across the skirt. It's fabulous.
Lobster.
It's fabulous.
It's a Dali lobster. Think about the lobster phone and the he uses this image a lot. Yeah. And can I just point out that those leaves are parsley?
Like it's supposed to be
also
parsley.
Amazing. It's
yes. It is painted with the parsley garnish.
Got it. Just making sure. It reminds me of like the Mary Poppins dress.
It does, with the waist, like the cummerbund waist. Yeah. It really does.
That waist and that silhouette. It's giving Mary Poppins and Bert, Dancing with Penguins. It's got that kind of vibe.
So beautiful.
Sorry for the onslaught of images. I just think like I want to show you guys these things. This is another really iconic design that she co-creates with Dali. This is the Tears dress. This one stood out to me less at first.
But this is giving Hairspray. This is Tracy Turnblad in the Roach dress.
Yes.
The same kind of vibe.
Yes.
Yeah. For the listeners at home, what we're looking at is a very beautiful sort of like boat neck white silk bias cut gown with like trompe l'oeil tears, like it looks like almost like pop art, like tears up and down, like as the pattern of the dress, with also a veil with real tears. It looks like, or like tears that like are sort of sewn on to look like the trompe l'oeil effect on the
Like
dress.
flaps of fabric coming
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, exactly. It's really beautiful, but it
And
does
again, like
it's reminiscent of the Roach dress.
It's
yes,
I almost
that is such a
wonder
good call out.
if John Waters was referencing this, because I feel like this is
Very,
very
very
much
likely.
something that would have been on his radar.
Well, you know what's so funny
Very
is there was a revival of a play called The Women about 15 years ago on Broadway, and it was
Elizabeth.
designed. Oh, am I skipping ahead? Or
It's
do you have a
okay.
picture?
Say what you're gonna say.
Oh, it was designed by, oh God, what is his name? Male designer, curly hair.
Oh, Isaac Mizrahi?
Isaac Mizrahi. Okay, so the entire influence by this era, creating all of these amazing outfits for these women, because it's set in the 1930s, and the shoe hat was one of them, and also a lobster dress. He makes a cream, and it doesn't come down the front. It's kind of combining the lobster dress and the blazer dresses that you were showing us before. It's this big embroidered lobster up on a blazer. So it's sort of like combining these two very Schiaparelli things in the same outfit for Cynthia Nixon in the play.
So there's a reason why he did that.
Mm.
And I don't know if I'm sure
more.
he was aware. So Schiaparelli, while she did design the costume for a couple of films and some plays, but she was really influential. She influenced a lot of other costume designers. And so is it 1939 when The Women came out? What year was it?
It was like
1930?
late 30s, yeah.
So when the movie comes out in the late 30s, the costumes were designed by Adrian, and Adrian was very influenced by Schiaparelli.
Wow.
And so he wasn't just influenced by her, he actually like made versions of her designs. This is one of my favorite costumes from that movie, is Rosalind Russell wearing this dress with eyes on it.
Yes.
This eye is literally lifted from a bejeweled eye like brooch that Schiaparelli and Dali designed.
So
I love it.
So you're spot on, Elizabeth, that the influence is there, but not just from Mizrahi, but he was also calling back to the original film costumes that were very strongly influenced by Schiaparelli.
Especially this character Sylvia wears the wildest
She wears
costumes
the wildest
in the play,
clothes.
in the film and in the play. It is sensational.
But I have to point out how subversive this all seems to the idea of like, back in the day, you had 4 items and you wore the simplest classic white and blue dress, and you had like no variation. And obviously some of these garments are probably for a wealthier echelon, but like these are fucking wacky ass things.
Mm-hmm.
And like this false idea of classic, and that historically we're always wearing simple, beautiful designs. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I making sense? Like,
no, yes.
Yeah.
I love this subversion that like a very wealthy, affluent, fashionable woman would be wearing fucking eyes all over her dress.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love it
stands
too.
out. I love it.
Yes. It's about standing out.
And it changed, but it is, especially in a time where we're like living in this era of like quiet luxury from a bygone era, like, which just is boring. Like, it's just the equivalent of like, make it look as boring as fucking possible.
I'm so glad that this is where we are right now, because we're going to talk about World War II and the effect that it has on her. And this is such like a juicy, amazing part of this discussion, in my opinion. So by 1939, she's very well established, but the war is looming. She's in Paris. She talks about how creativity and like style is really flourishing right before the war, almost as though people were sensing it was their last chance. I was very struck by that. She is outwardly critical of Mussolini, or at least in 1954 says that she was. And she says that I believe he was like the prototype that made Hitler possible. She's very critical of him. She says that this made her life difficult. Like she had trouble going back to Italy at certain points. So she ends up spending most of the war in New York City. But she doesn't design anything during this period. She says out of solidarity to the dressmakers in France who are unable to work. But she does a lot of lecture tours and sort of promoting French fashion amongst Americans as a sort of like, I don't know a better way to say this, but as a sort of like pro-French propaganda. In a not in a negative way, just in the very neutral sense that like
As an ambassador.
there's mixed sentiment towards France because they are occupied by Germany, and French fashion is not something that like most Americans are interested in or think is important to support. So she kind of goes on this goodwill tour around the States. And there's a lot of funny, like there's a picture of her like in a cowboy outfit from like a trip to Dallas. Like it's very cute. She goes all over the world. She really loves meeting people and experiencing different cultures. She's very like she's the one who would be like, she'd show up in Texas and 5 minutes later she's riding the mechanical bull and like
perfect.
She's just down
Tracks.
for anything. This chapter of her life is a lot of like madcap travels and just like crashing a yacht into the side of like just like traveling around having
like you do
really really wild zany adventures with her rich friends.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think this probably will all go in the idea of like she is a woman of many contradictions, but Wallace Simpson, big Nazi sympathizer, and occupied France is a complicated place to have been, where I imagine that's like a mixed bag for her. She's saying she's anti-Mussolini, but then she's going on this goodwill tour. Like it feels like it's not as cut and dry as this, like, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, yes. No, I think you're 100% correct. And I was trying to like talk this through with my husband and be like, because I felt weird. I was like, is it okay if I like her? Like, I just don't know. Like, is this, I was like listing out all these things and he's like, she just seems kind of incoherent. And some people are just kind of incoherent. And I really do think she is like highly singular, probably a bit self-obsessed, but like very fun and kind of ideologically all over the place.
Yeah. We all contain multitudes. Nobody is completely consistent all the time, especially during a time of like, you know, the rise of fascism and Nazi, like it's going back, remembering like there were people against it in the same place, like
right.
To paint anybody in broad strokes because of where they're from or what they support.
To be clear, I think she very much thinks that she is representing the French people who are being held under the thumb of Nazi occupation.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Basically, don't desert us. We're just people trying to keep our economy going. You know, what else? What else?
All of America feels right now.
Literally.
75% of America is just like,
right?
None of us, a lot of us are not into this, guys.
Yeah.
Like, please be nice to us.
Most of us, if the polls are to be believed.
Oh, here's the jeweled eye I want to show you. Sorry, I fucking love this photo. But this is jewelry that she designed with Salvador Dali.
I hate
photo,
it.
But it's incredible.
I hate it. Listeners, we're looking at a series of horrific jewels. A woman is holding a bejeweled eye, like over her own eye. She's in her mouth.
It's got a clock in it.
Oh, it does have a clock in the eye.
It's like a watch.
And then her mouth, she's holding within her mouth a bejeweled lip, and the teeth are pearls. And she's also holding a hand that looks like creeping leaves.
Yeah, it's like a branch that kind of looks like a hand.
It's like an ent. It's like an ent from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like a very if an ent got a manicure, that's what it's giving.
And the image is like ooky spooky.
It's ooky spooky. It's kind of grotesque, right?
Yeah.
It's her
but look at that eye and look at Rosalind Russell's eye dress right above
it.
Right.
And that clock is a hallmark of Dali. He did a lot of clocks in his art at that point.
And it also
it's just really cool to see the hallmarks.
Yeah, it also just goes to show that like shit like this is fucking cool to pull out at a party.
Yeah.
It's so fun to be like, is your ring an eyeball? And you're like, yes, isn't it amazing? Like there's something.
Isn't it so cool? Right? Like I would wear that lip brooch. It looks scary because it's on her actual
over
mouth,
a lip and over an eye. That's the thing. Like the eye brooch is very cool, but like I don't want it on your actual eyeball. It looks weird, uncanny valley. Like, it makes me uncomfortable.
But like, let's look at this and hold this image and then talk about what happens to women's fashion immediately after World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So she returns to Paris and the new look has taken over. This is Christian Dior. I'm sure you both have an image in your mind when I say Christian Dior new look.
Yes.
How would you both describe it?
Black hat, nipped waist, huge fucking skirt with a million petticoats, little gloves.
Yeah. And also, like, still with that blazer vibe, still
Yeah.
with that 1940s blazer, but, like,
Yes.
much more structured, and it's a return to, like, a very feminine silhouette, like, nipped waist, and also, like, the abundance of fabric that they were able to use now
Yeah.
that
Yes.
Yes.
rationing was over.
Yes, yes,
So it was,
yes.
like,
Yes.
extreme femininity and a bit ostentatious.
Yeah.
Yes, but also kind of austere in a way.
Mm, mhm.
Like, you don't see crazy prints, you don't see a lot of
Color.
bedazzling or color. Yes.
Yeah, no, it
So
was all in the
she
volume.
Mhm.
yes. She describes it, she says it was like the tolling of a bell is how she describes the new look. Like, I mean, she's very dramatic, but she really senses that this is a big shift, at least in hindsight too. Like, we've got to take this, she's writing this in
Right.
1954 with the benefit of,
This makes
15
me
years of hindsight.
so sad. Like, I
It is
just got
really
really
sad.
sad.
It is really sad. She sees it as women wanting to dress like little girls, which I think we're talking
I'm
about the
going
little
to flip the desk.
Oh my god, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
Wait, can we quote the Gia Tolentino article recently
please,
where it was,
please.
I'm not going to get this 100% correct, but where it was like at a time when little girls want to be teenagers and teenagers want to be 20 somethings, adult women want to wear bobby socks and bows in their hair and be little girls. And like the way that haunts
Yes.
me.
Yes. And what is it? It's a period of conservatism and like a stricter definition of femininity that comes after a lot of political upheaval.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so we went from like the 20s and 30s where everything was very permissive and wacky and this war that like wrecks the economy, and we come into this conservative 1950s where the image of femininity is this very dictated, structured thing that is like nipped in and corseted, but with flouncy petticoats and little gloves. And it's demure. I would say that it's demure.
It's
I
demure and not in the fun way.
No,
And
not in
not
the
in the
fun,
fun
Not in the
way.
fun memey way. No,
not in the
Yes.
it's
dolls
this like
way.
polarizing of gender norms and
Yes.
gender expression. But it happens throughout history, especially in like it's happening now, of like a period of very sort of like liberal and experimental and a little more queer, and then it goes and then it goes back, like we saw it in the 80s, we're seeing it now, like this like tightening and then loosing and then tightening and then loosing, of gender and fashion, like across, it's not just like fashion, it's like across the board where things become much more restrictive. And yeah, the 50s were a pretty major time for that.
Mhm.
40s and 50s, yeah.
I'm having
Yeah. Yeah.
such an emotional reaction to this. Like, I actually can't put the clear thought that I want to, but it is, we are in such a moment right now of hating women but loving girls.
Mm.
And I really think a lot about it all the time. And this idea, I've never looked at the Dior new look and thought of it as being a reference to a little girl.
Neither had I. But
And
as
now that
soon as
I
she said
see
it,
it,
I was like,
Hmm.
it
oh.
literally, I have to share this very quickly, which is I was actually texting Chelsea about this. I had like a full-blown existential meltdown a few weeks ago because I was like on Pinterest. Just like I like to pin outfits or things, and I told Chelsea I kept pinning all these cute sort of little like smocked tops, not difficult to make. And I was, now on Pinterest you can click on everything and shop it. And I had pinned a bunch of them and I started clicking on them to see like, oh, maybe I would buy a top like this. I keep posting it. And I discovered in the course of an hour that probably 75% of the tops, like if you do those like lay flat photos where it's just like the clothes, no body,
Hmm.
they were all, and I don't mean teen tops, they were all infant or toddler tops that
Hmm.
had been lifted off the screen and placed on an adult. And I genuinely like had a meltdown about it because I was like, "Oh, I'm literally emulating to look like my daughter," which on one hand, fashion, but on the other hand,
She's
like
very fashionable.
she's very cool. But I was like, we are in a losing game with time. And powers that be are making me feel shitty for not being able to look like a 12-year-old in the clothes
Mm.
that I wear. And
Yeah.
that was so crushing. And so this idea that the new look is this reference to, like, yeah, a little girl's baby doll dress is harrowing.
Yes. And
Goodbye.
so
Mhm.
I didn't know what about this was gonna like really resonate with today. And it's here. It's this.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this. So there's this quote in the book that just broke my fucking heart that she says she gets back to Paris, the new look is all the rage. And she says, basically, what I did was fall perfectly back into step with myself in 1940. I could not fall into step with what was happening around me. So
Mm.
she's ready to pick up where she left off, but the aesthetic has moved on. She does continue to do very well with perfume, but she kind of rolls the clothing part of her business to a stop. She stops making couture in 1951,
Mm.
and in 1954, she closes her shop at the Place Vendôme. Incidentally, very interestingly, this is the same year that Coco Chanel comes out of a 15-year hiatus. And Chanel is able to fall right in step with Dior and the new look,
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds right.
right? It's that very kind of like buttoned up, demure, feminine look.
Still looking
And it's
professional, but
about
it's always
it's
feminine.
beautiful. It's no, and I'm not saying it's not beautiful, but it's like the boucle suit and the little black
Yeah.
dress. It's not about standing out. It's actually about
Fitting in.
fitting
Yeah.
in.
It's
Yeah.
like a uniform. Whenever I think of Chanel, I think of a uniform.
Yeah.
Like you see other
Yes.
things in Chanel, but like there is an iconic jacket and skirt and silhouette that is just like there is it's very Nazi. It's very
Right. It's
fascist.
very fash.
A
Well,
little bit fash.
I think
Fashionable.
yikes. I think all the time about, who is it? Brené Brown, who says there's a I mean, I'm sure it's not just her, but, like, the difference between belonging and fitting in,
Mm,
and, like,
Mm-hmm.
to separate those things is incredibly important, and yeah, I'm also thinking about, like, how Ralph Lauren has been having a huge comeback recently. Like, I
That's
feel
not
like Ralph
mhm.
surprising.
Lauren no, but, like, I feel like I had started to associate Ralph Lauren for the last, I don't know, 15 years as being, like, a low-grade Macy's backwoods brand like Tommy Bahama, and now
Right.
it's sort of like we're back, like,
And I think too about that Chanel quote that everybody throws around about look at yourself in the mirror and take one thing off.
I'm making a
It's
jerk-off
just
hand motion,
right.
audience, it's
And I just feel
important.
like that is like the antithesis of Schiaparelli.
Right,
Like,
Yeah.
exactly.
so you can sort of see how these are kind of two opposing aesthetics. And unfortunately, Schiaparelli's is not in favor at this time.
Schiaparelli has
Um,
put two more things on. And make
100%.
right?
sure one of them resembles a bodily part.
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't disappear entirely. She's still marketing perfumes, selling perfumes. She writes this book, right, which is kind of like a thing to sell to continue to have her voice and her brand. She does some movie costumes. I think sometime in the early 50s she does a film adaptation of Moulin Rouge starring Zsa Zsa Gabor.
What?
That seems right.
It's very period. It's very fin de siècle, like Mae
Mhm.
West.
Hmm.
You wouldn't immediately look at it and know that it's Schiaparelli. I think she was very faithful to the era. In 1957, she licenses her name to sell perfumes. Also, costume jewelry. So there's a lot of mass-produced costume jewelry that is Schiaparelli brand from like the 50s and 60s that she actually had nothing to do with. But
Mm.
she it's interesting, right? Like she wasn't precious about her name. She was like, yeah, put it on whatever. Basically like TJ Maxx. Like,
Right, Betsy Johnson.
yes, exactly. Betsy Johnson is actually, that's a great parallel. Yes. So she's still making money that way. That's her business, but she is no longer doing couture or designing clothes. There is a quote here where she says, if the wind catches your hat and tantalizingly blows it farther and farther away, you must run quicker than the wind if you want to retrieve it. I knew that in order to build more solidly, one is sometimes obliged to destroy. She says she realizes that she'd come full circle, her work was completed, and she decides to close the shop at 21 Place Vendôme. Um, and
Hmm.
again, it's like, you're writing this is your statement on the matter, and this is kind of how you want people to understand you.
Hmm.
But I sort of believe her. I think I believe that she was the kind of person that was like, well, I'm on to a new chapter of life. Like, let's see what it is. Interestingly, her daughter Gogo is married to an American named Robert Berenson. They have two daughters, Elsa's granddaughters, Marissa and Barry Berenson, who, if you know those names, became very famous models and actresses. Marissa Berenson was an Oscar-winning actress. She's in the movie Cabaret. She plays the
uptight, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plug them into tubes. Yes, her.
Plug them into tubes. Yeah, exactly. That is Elsa Schiaparelli's granddaughter.
Whoa.
Oh, I had no idea.
So Barry Berenson marries Anthony Perkins, who you might know as Norman Bates, the actor who plays Norman Bates in Psycho. And their son is the actor/director Oz Perkins, who is, you might know as my favorite character in Legally Blonde, like the really nerdy Russian lit major that Elle helps him score a date with those girls by lying and saying that he like gave her the best sex of her life and ghosted her.
Oh,
that
my
is
God.
Wow. Schiaparelli's great grandson. Isn't that wild?
That is completely wild. Oh my gosh. I love shit like that.
I am lost for words.
I was delighted to learn this fact. And it's very sweet. The last chapter of the book is her walking hand in hand with her two granddaughters and just feeling very content with where she is in her life.
Aww.
It's very sweet. It's a lovely full circle. It's like, for all this woman was like, I'm a lone wolf. I've had loves and I mean, she's very, very effusive about the fact that she has been lucky to have so many friends and she's been helped by so many friends. So I don't actually think, I take back what I said. I don't think she's ever painted herself as a lone wolf, but it's just interesting that like she does have a very strong love of family. It's just this family that is not the conventional nuclear family that that we think of maybe for the time, or is the ideal for the time. So fast forward to our day and age, the brand kind of lies dormant for many decades. Someone buys it. Some French businessman acquires it in 2007. And in 2014, they announced that they were reviving the company as the House of Schiaparelli. And this is the Schiaparelli that exists today. So it's now under the creative direction of the designer Daniel Roseberry. And they started off only by dressing celebrities for the red carpet. This is how they began. They are moving into ready to wear, but it's still very much in development. So if you see Schiaparelli designs now, you've probably seen them on the red carpet. And I think it's really cool. I wanted to show you some modern Schiaparelli designs. This is actually something that I wish I could buy. This is the face bag, or the anatomy bag, I think they call it.
Oh, that is cool.
Excellent.
Isn't that cute?
We've talked about following the Mother Birdie on social media and how they are on the mission to find the cuntiest bag. And this would be the cuntiest handbag, and people are sending them a billion bags. But this goes up there in like really cunty bags.
I love it. You're probably not going to like these, but I want you to look at them in conjunction with the Dali jewelry that you also did not like.
I'm concerned about the image that's about to come on my phone. Oh, I hate this.
Hate that.
Can you describe what you're seeing?
These look like essentially white Chuck Taylors with gold eyelets, but instead of the rubber top part of the toe, it's gilded tootsies.
Yeah.
It's gold toes.
If Schiaparelli designed for Jesus, it's giving
to me it gives like Grecian statue feet, like Roman statue feet.
Yes, very much.
But I think this is very much like echoes this kind of
totally
anatomical jewelry that she did with Dali, and some of the stuff that Alberto Giacometti sculpted for her looks a lot like this too. This is a Schiaparelli red carpet look that you might remember from not too long ago. This is Doja Cat in Schiaparelli.
Yeah, this is where Doja Cat was completely covered in Swarovski crystals.
Oh,
I remember this. It's like an elegant skin disorder.
There's not a lot of subversion right now. It sort of feels like, and now we're also living in a time where like everyone has a stylist and everything is put together, and like everyone's makeup looks natural but beautiful, and their hair looks soft but gorgeous, and like everyone looks good. And I sort of miss, like, the Bjork swan dress days. I miss, like,
Yeah.
someone really
Yes.
misfiring, like
I saw a TikTok recently that was like, God, I miss the early the early mid aughts makeup girls who were doing full like green
Yeah,
cut crease glam at like 7 o'clock in the morning. Like nobody's extra nowadays. We're not, and I was one
Right.
of those cut crease gals. But like, yeah, we're not seeing the same sort of like experimentation in
Right, but it's
fashion.
this
Everything is
return to, like,
ugh.
clean beauty,
yeah,
Mhm.
natural beauty, like,
classic.
quiet luxury, and it's a little scary, I
Yeah,
gotta say.
Yep.
yeah,
It's a little bit scary, but it is interesting to me that the House of Schiaparelli is also reviving at
returning.
this time, and a lot of people really love it, but it is definitely kind of an out choice.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a counterculture choice. And I think
Right.
there's something about loving this kind of aesthetic that is very much a statement against this like clean, quiet, trad wife
Yeah.
aesthetic. I remember when Doja Cat wore this full body, like she looks bald, she's covered in Swarovski crystals, she's head to toe red. Some of the comments I saw were like basically like eat the rich, this is the capital of the Hunger Games, like the elites have gone too far. Like there was quite a scary, like I would say, like anti-artistic backlash. And I think
Yeah.
a big part of it is because like she is a woman of color presenting in a way that flies in the face of how traditionally women are supposed to appear. I think Schiaparelli would have fucking loved
Loved it.
this.
She looks like a sculpture. She looks
She looks
incredible.
like a
Also,
sculpture.
like I understand where people are coming from, but at the same time, it is like, yeah, I hear you, Chelsea. This like
Mhm.
anti-creative, anti-experimental, anti-intellect. Like it's just nobody's curious anymore. Nobody wants to like just fucking go there, and it's so disheartening when you're somebody
Well,
who loves this kind of stuff.
but it's easy to look at, like, a very simple bias cut white gown and say, "Why couldn't you just wear something like that?" Because, like, to the naked eye, that certainly must be less expensive, but that gown might be 5 times the amount it costs to do Doja Cat's crystals. Do you know what I mean? Like
But
Yeah.
it also feeds into the stuff that we always talk about on this podcast, which is daring to stand out.
absolutely.
It's
That's what I'm
like
saying.
yeah, exactly,
Like
that I
showing your effort too, like
showing
showing
your
your effort
Effort,
going
effort
yeah,
into it.
and being like, "No, I want you to look at me." It starts at red lipstick and it ends with what Doja Cat is doing, you know what I mean? It is
absolutely.
an attention-seeking way to present yourself,
Well,
and
and
so
1000%.
the whole concept of, like, the quiet luxury culture that we're in right now, this swing back, and same with the Dior new look, is, like, the idea of looking simple and classic, but it's an illusion, it's a falsification that that is not immensely wealthy, and then we see someone who's doing something like Doja Cat, and it seems wasteful because it's obvious.
mhm,
But
Right.
yeah,
And I'm just really struck by like what is femininity? What
yeah.
is a woman supposed to look like?
Oh,
mhm.
yeah. And what's
And
worth
Schiaparelli
it.
had her style, like her designs ranged. I wish that we could spend like hours together just like looking at everything she designed. Like it went from like whimsical and funny and ironic to like grotesque and weird and like she was just so inspired by so many things. And there was this sense of like fun and unseriousness, but yet it was so beautiful and artistically crafted. And then yeah, I just like that is like so appealing to me.
Mhm.
She's such an interesting figure in terms of like a woman designing for women, because if we take it all the way back to earlier in our discussion, we're talking about a blazer with a dress, and we're talking about pockets and culottes and pockets that can hold a flask and culottes that make it easier to play sports. She's looking at dressing women from a very practical place.
Yeah.
So and then she wants to explore femininity in this very fun, wild way. So it makes her a very interesting, I don't want to say like feminist figure, but like a very interesting figure in terms of like how she relates to femininity, both as a practical woman living through the world, and then as somebody who just wants to kind of play dress up. Like there ain't nothing like that is girlhood right there, is fucking playing dress up, right?
Yeah.
And like her clothes, like as I'm looking at them, I'm like, let's have a little fun with this. Like I'll make you a culotte, but also I'm gonna put a lobster on your dress.
Right.
There's something here about like women being able to be funny.
Funny. Yes.
Like, it's
not
fun.
take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
To me, the sexiness of her clothing comes through the absolute confidence and the sense of irony and like
and intelligence.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear a giant beetle on my head, of course.
Right. But that's also an intelligence, because like to have the gall to wear a beetle on your head requires more than you just like flipping through a magazine being like, the hottest fashion this season is the black little dress. Like, you know, like you have to have real chutzpah to say like, oh, that's fucking sick, and I'm gonna wear it and I'm gonna feel amazing, you know?
Truly.
I loved this episode, Chelsea.
I am so glad. I wish I have a note here. My last bullet point is end with something quippy, which I completely failed to think of or achieve. So, listeners, just imagine I ended on like the funniest, most succinct quote. And you were like, wow, she really nailed it.
What year does she die?
Oh, that's a great question.
At the top of the episode, when you said she was born in 1890, which for some reason that, you know, when someone is born in the late 1800s, I'm always sort of like, oh, wow, that's such a period of time to exist. And it always makes me think of, I think it's in the last season of Mad Men, the secretary dies.
She was an
Spoiler.
astronaut.
She was an astronaut. Yeah, she was born on a farm in 1890 and she died on a skyscraper. She wasn't a secretary. She was an astronaut. And I think about that all the time. And when you said that about Elsa Schiaparelli, I thought like, truly, who could be more of an astronaut than this woman?
She dies in 1973. So she really sees, and I would love, I mean, this book is written in 1954. I would love to know what she thought of the 60s, like what she thought of what came after this period. It would have been interesting to see if she had kept designing, I think.
Yeah, because the loosening again of those
and the
very
psychedelic era, the color and the prints. I think it would have been really cool to see her. But then again, maybe not. I mean, I think she very clearly was like, I had my era, I came full circle. And it's best not to chase things sometimes. So seems like it was a life well lived. I highly recommend the autobiography. It was indeed a shocking life.
There it is.
There it is.
Quippy ending. Well done.
Thank you both so much.
This was
great.
So great. Who wants to do the outro?
I think I did it last time. So
I'll do it since you did the intro. And that's our show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, please tell your friends and be sure to follow us on social media at Vanity Veritas Pod. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, remember, trends come and go, but vanity is timeless.